It's connecting. Excellent. We're on. Cool.
Woo-hoo.
Let me do, and we'll do multi-view for now. And then I could be like, follow my view, right? Yeah, follow host video. Perfect. Okay. Hey, everybody. We have the man, Josh. Well, at least on my screen, he's right above me. Not sure where he is for you guys. Excellent. David, Mr. Francis, Dave Hitting, Mr. Cole, Dr. Bob. We got all the fan base here. Thank you everybody for coming on. As you know, we got Josh Stacks Weaver himself in the house. He's going to be doing a little takeover today. I'm probably most of the today. I'm probably just going to sit back and maybe inject some comments here or there. But he's going to show some really super cool stuff that he's been working on and building. And he's got a new stack. If you haven't checked that out, Feeds Table Pro. It's really slick, really good stuff. And that allows you to build. Well, he'll do the pitch, but it'll let you build out tables from feeds. It'll also work with Total CMS 3 in the future. I know that. And yeah, it's gonna be super cool. So yeah, Josh, what you got for us today, bud?
Perfect. Give me 1 second here and I'll get this
Oh, and on
shape.
top of that, Josh has this newfangled streaming setup he wants to show off today. So I'm gonna be drooling over that. Let's see.
We'll see how that works out today. Yeah, all right. We will be sharing this one. There we go.
Sweet.
Perfect. And I'm assuming you can see that.
Yeah. I see
Awesome.
the Stacks Weaver desktop.
That's all you need to see. Perfect. All right. Welcome everybody. Today I am excited to show some cool stuff that I use with feeds. I think the first thing I want to do is kind of show one a website that I'm utilizing feeds with and how I'm using that to generate newsletter emails for that customer. So without further ado, I am going to click here and
Wow, check you out with the transitions.
I got transitions and everything. Fancy, fancy today. All right, perfect. So this is a customer that I work with, and this is Explore Edmonds. So it's a tourism website in Edmonds, Washington, and they have a ton of blog posts that they post. So they create new blog posts, probably at least one a week. I think their site's got about 160 posts at this current time. And they also have events. So they have their events on their site, um, and they maintain this all by themselves. So they had come to me and said, "Hey, we need to do a email newsletter." And me being me, I'm like, "How can I do this with the least amount of work?" Um, so what I set up for them is something really cool in their admin area. It's a CSV CRUD. And what they're able to do is they come into their email setup here and they create a new entry. So we'll look at this last entry that they've put in here. So in this last entry, they put a send date, so lets me know when they're wanting to send this email newsletter out. And then they create a tag that they're going to be sending this, that's going to be related to this newsletter. And this tag is really cool. It's a minus tag, and that's very important when we're using this with Total CMS, when you're tagging your blog posts. A hidden tag, a minus tag, is a tag that nobody sees um, on the actual website. So that's not something that is visible to the public. And then they go in here and they put in a header for their email newsletter. And then they have an intro paragraph that they put into their email newsletter. From there, they take this tag and they go to their posts. They edit their posts and they go in and add this tag to blog posts. So we'll search right now. We'll see that we've got 2 blog posts here that have this tag in it. And then if we go over to events, now events, this was sent earlier this month. So most of these events have passed. So if I search here, no upcoming events, but if I search here in the past events, we see here we have, what is it, 2, 4, 5 events tagged. So we have all this data now. We have a CSV, we have blog posts, and we have events posts that have this tag on it. So what do we do with that tag? So with that tag, what we can do is we can bring that into, oh, wrong project file. We can bring that into email stacks. So email stacks actually has a really cool function. When you're creating your email newsletters, you can utilize feeds to generate your HTML content for email stacks. So in here, I've created and designed a header section for their newsletter. Now I utilize Sendy. So these are some Sendy macros in here that will generate the current date and time that the newsletter is sent. So we'll start with this first feeds in here, bring in the first feeds. And this is a CSV feed. And in this CSV feed, we've set a pre-filter. So this pre-filter is set to contain tags, and we set this filter of the tag that they have actually just put in on that current email. So if we actually preview this right now, we'll see that we've got that intro now. Edmunds has it all, and we have that intro paragraph. Just quickly disable this so I don't have to see this every time. Here we go. So I think everyone understands exactly what this is doing. We're pointing to a CSV feed, but instead of bringing all of the CSV records, we're literally filtering out by that tag, which is already in that CSV column. And that's what allows us to grab that row, display that header content, that intro content. Very simple. Next thing, I have latest blog posts. So in this one, we do a feeds, but now I'm doing a JSON feeds. Now, why am I doing JSON feeds versus total CMS feeds? Well, it's because this project file is not actually published on their website. I'm not actually on their domain. So I'm accessing their data with this project file not having their actual domain set up in it. So total CMS won't work in this specific instance. This will have to use the JSON. So you essentially have to point, sorry.
Quick clarification: the total CMS feeds stack wouldn't work because it would
Correct.
you would use
Correct.
the
Yeah.
JSON feed.
Yeah. So right in here, if we go into to add in a feed and we go into we're at total CMS blog feed, this particular instance won't work because of what we're using it inside of email. Now that's different if you had your email templates, I guess, saved in your main project file. That would work, I guess. In this case, I run a completely separate project file just for newsletters. Perfect. Now, yeah, so now in here, we put, again, a pre-filter feed. And now we're feeding from those posts, we're filtering by tags, and we're filtering by that same tag. Also, in this feeds, on the core feeds, I've set this to not include any draft posts. So it won't include anything that's set to draft. So if they have some draft, they accidentally switch something to draft, that pulls it out of the newsletter. Now, in here, I mean, I'll dive into kind of what I've done in the settings here to pull in the data. If we look at the picture stack here, you'll see here that I have the domain, and then I got image.image. And if we previewed out the data that comes from this JSON, which I don't think this is going to look too pretty in here. No, because it's all white. So if we looked at this data, if we're trying to pull the blog image, we see here that we've got image, and then under that is IMG. And this is the link. I know it's all bright white. This is the link to the actual blog image that's on the site. So that's how you can bring in an image using feeds from that blog post. Then, of course, just simple here, we have a spot for image alt. If they actually put alt tagging, so like copyrights on the images, that actually comes into their newsletter, which is really cool. And then you got your header, summary, and I got a read more button. And then in here, if we were to look at the URL, we got a link to the blog post. And then you see here, I've got a permalink macro. So all of that, all of the data and all the macros that I'm setting up in here, you can preview your data in inside of feeds, and then you can actually see what your macros need to be set as. And then upcoming events is very much just like the blog, except we're pointing to the calendar JSON for that for the blog lists. And then again, another pre-filter with picture, their image alt, title, summary, read more. So if we preview this right now, we will actually get a newsletter. We'll see Edmunds has it all. We have their latest blog posts and their upcoming events. And that's created. Now, what's really cool and what's really nice about Stacks is in the Stacks menu. Now, you can't see this right now, but if you go up in this top Stacks menu and you go into Stacks and there is page stats, you get this nice little pop-up window that shows you all your stacks that are on the page. Now, this is where I cheat. If I just click on pre-filter, it selects all three pre-filters at once. And then I could actually just go back to their email. And if I wanted to preview this email, I can copy this tag. And I could just paste it, and it will change all three of those pre-filters at once. And I can just hit preview. And now I've got the other newsletter. Just like that.
Sweet.
And then from there, it's just simple as enabling your pre-filter and copying the code and putting it into your email program. So in this case, I use Sendy. So I just copy the code, paste it in, good to go. So that's really easy. It's really nice to be able to generate newsletters from content that's already on your website.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really need to expand on this, this could be products. This could be, you could have classifieds, you could have ads, you could have a whole bunch of different things in that. So Feeds was really great at bringing data in. But I challenged Joe a little bit ago when I said, hey, I want to pull a single post. I want to bring one post into an email. And this really kind of spawned from one of my other clients that had that they generate all the content on their site, and essentially they wanted me just to program their newsletters. So I found the CMS file and previewed it, couldn't get it to work. So Joe did a nice little update to Feeds, which includes for Feeds JSON a single record mode. So let me show you what that looks like. Perfect. This is already preset. So this is an email newsletter for the social club that I manage. And if you add the JSON feed to your feeds, the JSON feed, there's a little checkbox here that says single record mode. Now, this requires a little bit of digging around inside of your FTP into your website to actually find this. So in this case, they had a upcoming Family Fun Bowl event, and I wanted to bring that into an email without having to remake all of the blog content that they already had. So if we were to browse into their file server here, and we go into CMS data, blog, and we go into events. So if we went looking through here, I have, which one was it? No, I switched it to activities. There we go. So in activities, we have this familyfunbowl.cms. So if you notice here, we've got Family Fun Bowl, we've got Christmas Party, we have AGM, all these .cms files. So these .cms files are actually where all of the blog content is stored. Now, you don't want to edit those, you don't want to open those, you don't want to mess with those, but we just need to know where it is. So in this case, I have my transmit set up here just to copy URL. So I can copy that URL, and then I can paste that into the JSON feed URL. Now, if we were to put this into data preview mode, in here we see the data that we're now getting from that individual post. And from here, we actually have access to things like content, extra content, the things that you don't normally have access to in a blog list. in a single record mode, it's like loading a single blog post. It's like adding a blog post to your page, and it's single blog post, and you can actually load a single blog post on your website. So now we're able to do that inside of feeds. We can say, hey, I want to bring this specific blog post. Now, in my case, I'm bringing it into an email. So all of these little titles here, these are all your little macros that you're going to need to use. So you can see in here, I've placed an image, and I did the same thing as I did in the other one. It's, image.image. I have links to the event, so I got permalink added in there. And then I have some really cool date time formatting in here with Twig, which is cool. Summary, and then I got content raw. So if we actually preview this, we see now that the blog image comes in and the entire blog content comes into an email. Now,
Boom.
if you were to mix this, as you said, you had like, we're posting this event, but say we still have more upcoming events. Now you can mix the other thing from the newsletter with more posts. You could put another feeds in there and go other upcoming events and have a list. And this entire email would generate itself. Like, there's nothing I need to do. Their next event, when they post their next event, I just come in here, change that .cms link to the next event, hit preview, make sure everything looks pretty, send another email. And so I'm automating this whole email process of feeds. Feeds has completely changed my email marketing business. So that's one thing I think a lot of people don't realize, that feeds can really help you have sub things other than just, selling websites, building websites. You can actually use it for doing your own email marketing or even providing email marketing for other customers of yours. Any questions so far,
The
Jeff?
automation is amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be quiet. Irwin's here. Happy to see you, Irwin. So a couple things. Just to go back to the edit mode. Just I'll just clarify a few things. So in the feeds, JSON feed, the URL, if you notice, once you figure out the URL, all you need to do is change the permalink in the end of that URL if you want it. Like, so in this case, it's family-fun-bowl, right?
Yeah. For the
That
AGM, I could easily change that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just so in the future, like, if you know what the permalink is, you don't have to like go and copy the URL. As long as you know what the permalink is, you can kind of just tweak it right there.
Yeah, so if
Yeah,
I wanted to switch to, the AGM, I could literally just go in there and just change AGM 2024, and
exactly.
this entire thing will just swap out. So yeah, I wouldn't have to redo the whole link.
Yep.
Just AGM 2024. Hope that works. We'll see what happens.
Boom.
Oof.
And there you go.
Yeah. And it's cool, these buy tickets and view, I think that, yeah, the buy tickets button also has the permalink in it. So it
Yep.
will actually take you to that
Oh,
individual
the
post.
events page. Nice.
Yeah, so the buy tickets actually takes you straight to the proper events page, which is really, really
That's
cool.
that's pretty genius.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun
And
actually.
just
Yeah.
for fun, if you look at the header where your timestamp is, I know that line probably scares some people a little bit, right? Um, and normally what I do just to make it a little bit more readable, you have timestamp and then you have a pipe, right? Normally I
Oh
put
yeah.
a space before and
Mm.
after that, just so that it kind of delineates that a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So
There.
now just to explain, so a blog post has a timestamp field, right? So we're displaying that timestamp field, but the timestamp field in Total CMS1 is just like this ginormous number. It's not readable at all, right? So Twig, which is a part of Feeds, has this date function that then allows you to pipe out whatever date format you want. And Josh even found that you can actually supply the time zone as well, which is cool because this newsletter is for Edmonton, right? So you want to make sure that the time and everything that you're outputting is for that particular time zone, right? So pretty cool there that he figured out you can also pipe in a time zone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it actually comes out pretty nicely in here too. Right there, sun. It has the proper date, exactly the way I
Yep.
want it for it. Probably don't need a
Freaking
comma.
great.
Probably don't need a comma there, but whatever. Now I'm just nitpicking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
now
this
now
is
image size here though, like so you have to make sure that when they upload an image they do it in a particular size, right?
Yeah,
or what?
I'm not too. I have some settings on that side.
Okay.
They actually export. I've got them really good. I've trained these people to now go to Canva. They design all their like that's a nice looking poster actually.
Yes.
They design them on Canva and they do proper export for sizes. And yeah,
Mm. Okay. Cool.
it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. So a lot of the hard work is when they say that they're ready to send, I usually pop in and just tweak the styling a little bit. Like it's all hip wig on the back end, so I kind of
Yep.
spice it up for them just to make it look a little better. But they do most of that work, get that in, and then I'm able to easily generate now these really cool emails. Now, I'll call out this whole email template. I got it off of from Massimo from RW Pro Space, and then I completely customized it. But he had a kind of a similar style. So this whole like top of this iPhone, I kind of screenshotted that, put that in there, and kind of added it in. My future editing is actually going to probably put this width of this image to be like into the iPhone, so it looks like it bleeds over into the page, which is going to be really cool. Yeah, but no, this is Feeds has honestly changed my business, not only just the websites I do, but even my business. And that kind of leads me into what I built with Feeds Table Pro.
Hey, you mind if I a couple on the go back to your other email?
Oh,
Uh,
oh, which
or
one?
did you close it? Oh yeah, no big deal.
Oh no, I have it here somewhere, I think. The yeah, no, the newsletter one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about the workflow on that one really quick. So, you said that you create a CSV file. I did notice that that is stored inside of a total CMS data store, which is interesting. But then you use CSV
Right.
CRUD to edit the
Yes.
CSV file. Now,
Yeah.
why don't you just use data store? Just curious.
So the thing is that there is a data store on this site. They don't have access to it. The customer is the one doing this. So I needed something easy for them to manage.
Hmm.
Um, Now this is probably like way before I could have done like a feeds SQLite setup. That was before I got into all that. So I mean, this has been implemented since 2022.
Oh,
If you see the
yeah.
first.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the
No,
reason
I was
why
just
it's
curious
there
because
is
Total
for them.
CMS
Here,
has
I'll
the
show you.
data store form.
I'll show you what the data store look the well to create. I've never used the data store form actually, to be
Oh,
fair. I've
okay.
actually
Okay.
never used that. I
That
don't even know what the data
that was
store.
my question. Now
So
the
this
only
does
the
have
caveat is like the data store form doesn't allow you to like edit an existing entry. So that is a caveat where the CSV CRUD would allow you to, oh, if they messed up, they can go back and edit an entry.
correct.
The data store is kind of like a create it and save it one time sort of thing, you know?
Yes, I've
Um,
only ever like utilized this aspect of the data store.
okay.
I've never actually utilized the form.
Okay,
I know
no
I
problem.
like done the editing, so I thought this was the only editing you really had. I never even looked at the form. So there's
Oh
so many
yeah.
things about Total CMS that I don't even use. It's just hilarious, right? There's just things that you
So
just like.
funny enough, the data store form is in the content stacks. The
Mm,
reason that is because it's meant for you like to create a form on your website that then saves into the admin area, if that kind of makes sense, right? So the form would be out on the content side. Um,
See,
yeah.
for this is
But
that
anyway.
like when they create a new record, by default, these two first options are no and no. So
Hmm.
I come in here when I've scheduled it, so they can
Yeah.
see that
Mm, okay.
I've come into this. One other thing that's kind of nice about this workflow, right here, this little button. This is the world's smallest Foundation 6 form. Um, it's literally its submit button. And what that does is when they are ready for me to send a test, they click this button and it sends me an email to bloody every email that I have. It's like my phone lights up like a firecracker. Um, it's
Nice.
really cool. So yeah, they press this button. It's a pre-set up form that I like email that I've set up that said, "Hey, they're ready for you to send a test email." I won't press it because it also messages one of the other admins for the site so that
Hmm.
they know that it was pressed. So I'm not pressing that button, but it's really
Nice.
cool. Something you would never think to use Foundation 6 forms for. A
Yeah.
simple button that just notifies. So it's
Hmm.
all pre-set up with like an alert,
Yep.
emails, hits me on every email address. So that's
Nice.
a really
Good
cool
tip.
function that I don't think a lot of people ever utilize.
Now, futurefying this in Total CMS 3, this could just be a custom collection in Total CMS 3 as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that this site will change with Total CMS 3 that will make life easier. I actually
Sweet.
forgot I had one more thing I wanted to show in the email stack. So I did do a launch of Feeds Table Pro, and that is the exact same thing I did for my Feeds Table Pro email. Is I used feeds. Now I did add in my own little header here,
Hmm.
uh, but there's a video that pulls from the blog post, everything. So when I hit preview, this generates my Feeds Table Pro email, and it was just generated straight from what's in the
Nice.
blog post, which is super slick. Like
That is slick. Good job.
automation and laziness for the win. It's one of my favorite things. All right, let's see here. We can get out of this one and out of that one. Cool. Ooh, sneaking, showing stuff I shouldn't be showing. Let's see here. Demo project. All right. So let's start with
You can
yeah.
give a sneak peek of that if you want. I'll give you permission.
Oh, it's F6. I'll show that. That's when I do my images. That's my images one.
Okay.
Open recent. Oh, I've opened way too many projects. Give me 1 second. Just got to load one more project file here. I'll show that. That'll be my last demo. Mm-mm-mm. Everything's lagging today. There you go. Cool. So, Feeds Table Pro. So, Feeds Table Pro is a stack that I made that is for making HTML tables. And it is just an HTML table stack. There is no superpower that my stack has in bringing data in. That's why it's called Feeds Table Pro, because really the power is in using feeds with it. But let me show you a basic HTML table. Um, and we'll start that from scratch. I'll actually delete this out and start from scratch. So we'll bring Feeds Table Pro onto the page. And this is your initial stack that it comes out. So with Feeds Table Pro, you have a couple of different settings. Some things I will kind of go through and go over. First area, you have a header row. Most tables will have a single header row, but you do have the power to add more header rows if that was needed. So it's very simple, header row. So in here, I'm just going to put here name. I'm just going to add a couple more cells here. I'm going to add date. We'll add age. What other names does I have in here? I'll just do those three. Perfect. So if we previewed this right now, we'll see that we have a header row, name, date, age. Down here in the body, we can add a row. I'll just add a few cells here, and I'm just going to put Joshua, and we'll put in today's date. I look like I'm 25. Perfect. Preview that, boom. We now have a simple table. Now, if we wanted to add some more rows, so if we just wanted a static table that didn't have any extra data, we can just change some of the stuff out. Change some of these dates. And then I'm just going to have a row that has a similar date, different name. Perfect. So if we preview this, now we have a very simple table. We have the name, date, and age. Now, inside of Feeds Table Pro, in the main settings here on the side, you have some option to turn on some filters. You've got search, sort, or both. So we'll add on certain search and sort. And what that allows you to do essentially is the data that's in your table can be sorted. So if I hit name, you got it sorted by alphabetical. You can reverse it. Now, what's really cool is you can also do dates. So this is actually detecting the dates and then sorting it in calendar order. And you can do reverse sort, as well as you can sort by age. So a very simple way of displaying your data. Now, Feeds Table Pro does come with a secondary stack, which is called Feeds Table Search. And the search stack, that needs to be tied with an ID to the table. So the way this works, and you see that there's table ID, you got a table ID 1, and you got table ID 1. So if you wanted to have multiple tables on the page, you just have to change the table ID to a different number. So you could have unlimited tables as long as none of the IDs are the same. If you're utilizing any of the search and sort functions. If you're not utilizing any of the search and sort functions, the table IDs don't matter. It's really just working with how the JavaScript calculates the data and sorts it for you. So if that search stack on the page, we can simply just search, in here, if I want to search 2022, boom, I got the 2 people that are from 2022. I can search, 25. I can search multiple things. So I could search 2022, and then maybe I want, Davide, and that will filter out from there. So search and sort is very useful. What's neat about that as well is that you can search, and while you're searched, then you can actually sort the data still that's on screen. So you still have the power to filter down and then search. But that's just a basic HTML table, and that's really no fun. The real fun is when you actually start getting into utilizing it with feeds. So I already have this pre-set up table here. We have a header row with first name, last name, age, country, email, salary, date. I have some CSV data here. Now, if we actually took a quick second and looked at this CSV data on the page, what's really neat about this is that you see that the data that's coming in is name, age. But if we're looking at that header row, we see here we've got first name, last name. So this is where feeds comes in and actually can reformat your data. So this here is a twig statement that splits the name into 2 words, first name and last name. And it gives you new macros of first name and last name. And then down here in the rows, we now split that to first name, last name. And so now we're not only, viewing the data, we're now going to be able to sort by last name, even though before it was all in one field in your database. Now it's split out. And yeah, so on the table body area here, if for the people that didn't catch that, if I just pull this feeds out if my dragging starts working. So if we go down here and you go to add something, you can add row or feeds. You'd add feeds, and then you would add a row. Command Z, scary. Add a row into the feeds. So what you're actually using feeds for is to reproduce the row. That's what you're doing. You're reproducing the row HTML, and that's what gives you a table on your site. So let's preview this. Perfect. So now we have that CSV data, and we have that in feeds. And now you can just search. So if you wanted to search, again, let's try that 2022. Boom, we've got all the 2022 dates. And then say I wanted to see someone who's 33 years old. Boom, instantly filtered. And you can do this a whole bunch of different ways. If you want to filter out UK, we now can filter out that data point. And then we could filter out, people who make $56,000. Boom, just like that. And the same thing, we have that sorting. We can still sort the dates. We can sort the emails, any of the columns, any of the data, easily sortable. Now, something I didn't show in my video, and actually came up, someone asked this question, and I don't know how I missed this. My computer is choking on something. Is inside of the cells here. If you select any of the cells, what? It's bringing me down today. All right. There is an option for custom content. So if you check mark that, you can actually bring in your own stacks into this. So I've kind of created another demo here on my sandbox. And this is using Feeds Table Pro, feeds, and someone's secretly cool, awesome stack coming out soon called pop-up caption 2. So in here, I've connected this to my stacks JSON from stacksweaver.com, and I've added in a pop-up caption stack. This pop-up caption stack is got that same, you'll see the same similar macro to what we did in the emails, where we're going stacksweaver.com, image.image. So I'm getting it to bring in the blog post image. And then I have for the hover content media on my site, the title of the stack is stored in the media field. And then I have a view link. And the view link, if we pop into here, you'll see that the permalink for me is stored in the title. It's just something to do with ViberCart and my integration with ViberCart. So that's how my link to the actual, like the permalink is linked over to the blog post. Then if we go down to the other cells, you'll see I just have a data cell with summary raw. So if we preview this, we now get a table that actually has all of my stack data and images that's coming in. And what's really neat is the media field, which is inside of pop caption here, that data that's actually there is searchable. It's actually something that you can still search. So if I actually wanted to search, Cloudflare, now Cloudflare is also named in the descriptions here, so it could be popping in from there. I think look at URL query mixer for search feeds. What do I got? Turnstile. Yeah, turnstile. It's mentioned here. Search is really good. So yeah, so you can have images, you can have multiple forms of data points in there. And what's really cool is like you can click this link and actually go out to the actual page from inside of this form. And you can still sort. Actually, no, this is how I know it was working. Because if you hit sort, it sorts those images in alphabetical name. So I know it's reading your data. So my sorting code is reading. So if you actually sort the stack, it is reading the data because that is in alphabetical order, which is pretty cool. And also, I love this. I could do this all day, Joe. This is actually deadly. Now with Feeds Table Pro, of course, it's really powerful, but also simple. So if you utilize Foundation 6, there is some really cool stuff that you can do with the table swatch. That was the slowest I've ever seen that go. Saw that, right? It was like,
yep.
So in here, you can actually have the table style swatch. And if you use the table style swatch, you can just style the table because it is an HTML table and it conforms to all of those swatch settings. And you can do some cool stuff for, like I did here with the search stack. I used Target to bring in a search icon and added some padding. This is in the Feeds Table Pro demo project. And so you end up with, a table like this, where you can now stylize the table exactly the way you want to. And it's just using a single swatch. Like there is no real stylizing options inside of my stack because most people are utilizing Foundation 6 and all those table styles are there. But I have seen that most frameworks have some sort of default table styles.
Mm-hmm.
So I've decided not to complicate the stack anymore by adding in any of those complicated settings.
And a quick tip, if you're not using Foundation and you still want like the cool table style stuff that Foundation has, well, all of those swatches still work in any theme.
That is true.
So, yeah.
That is absolutely true. Yeah. Now, a couple other things I kind of skidded over. I'll quickly touch. We have a few minutes still, Joe?
Yeah, we're good, dude.
Cool. So inside of the stack here, there is a columns width settings. Now, this is a little tricky. It has to be here because of the HTML. This whole thing was based upon how you actually have to write HTML. So column width settings have to be in a separate area above all the table code. So in here, you see I have if I wanted to get the first name, last name to be a certain width, I have to add two of these in and then predefine what they look like. So if we went like 150 pixels on that first one, we previewed that. That's now locked in that first one, 150. If we actually maybe bring it down just to show, bring it to like 100, for instance, you'll see that it kind of scrunches. So that's a little too much. So
Whoops.
that's also a little too much. There you go. So you can size your columns the way you want. Even if we said like the date. Now say, date is column 7. We just have to add all the way up to column 7. Don't touch any of these that say auto. And in column 7, just add a pixel. So if we said, 150 over here, bring that down too. So now we've got the date locked in. But what
Nice.
happens if we have, you're looking at smaller devices, and you see as we get down to smaller devices here, all of a sudden it scrunches and the data goes off the screen. What's going on? So with this, the table actually has side scrolling automatically enabled. So you can actually scroll that table and view the data, but this still doesn't look pretty up top. So to fix that, my computer is frozen. There we go. To fix that, if we click on Feeds Table Pro, when it loads, and here we have a set width and set min width. So if we up this minimum width to like 900, preview that.
Now that's the minimum width on the entire table, correct?
Correct. So that's a full table width. So now
Yeah.
you see here, if we come down, once it hits 900 pixels of the width of the table, not the screen, the width of the table. So you'll see here, it already starts to lock off right around 920. It will then just slide off. Yeah. So you can set your min width. You can also set just a width in general. So if you set a width in pixels, of course, or in percentage. So if you did this at 50%, you'll see that the 900 takes over. If I turn off that minimum width, then it will actually push it in and look ugly. So you
If
can
you
kind
ever
of protect yourself.
you mind testing something for me? Do you have
Yeah,
my measure stack? I assume. Yes.
I do.
Chuck it up above your table and then do your little width test thing.
It's measuring the actual page, not the.
Do instead of do target the parent instead of the browser.
There we
And
go.
oops, where did
Oh,
it's at the bottom of the page.
it's still not measuring that container.
Oh, oops.
Did I put it in the table? I'll put it in the table.
Oh, can you? I don't know. Interesting.
Let's find out. I'll put it in the header row if it will. Yeah, it'll let me put it in here.
Interesting. Let's see how that works.
So it's still showing. Yeah, it is weird how that works. Still going full wide.
It's whatever it's matching whatever the search is. So it must just be the width of that particular container.
Try in here and see what happens. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. So it
Interesting.
should be the row should be the row
Well,
should
I
be.
was expecting it to measure the width of the container the table is in, not the table itself. I was just thinking when you were playing around with the width, and as long as the table was full width, then you could easily see the width at which it, you know,
Seems to be pulling the
hmm,
padding still.
it does. Yeah, it looks like it's pulling the padding too. Interesting. It was just
Interesting.
a little test case that I was like, oh, let's see how measure works in that case. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's some settings. There is options to do column spans, row spans. So if you wanted a, header column to be across 2 columns, we can do that. For instance, if we just take this first name and we switch it back to name, We can then do a column span on that to 2 columns. So when you preview that, now you have name is actually taking, both columns. The bad thing about that is sorting is only going to sort the first column. You're
Mm,
not going to get, you kind of lose your last name sorting, but there is some like advanced, there's even row spans, but I don't think most people are ever going to use them, but
yeah.
they're there. Um, it can be useful in very rare cases.
Yes, I agree.
Nice thing is you can also do, cell alignment. If you wanted a specific cell align, you can do cell alignment. You do have the power to do row alignment. And then I do realize that my stack takes up a lot of space. So it's been set up thanks to the great programmers of Penn to minimize the row and header columns, as well as if you just really want to go into it, you can just minimize the entire stack.
Sean was wondering if we could reduce the width of the search field.
Oh, absolutely. This was a really recent update. So on the search field, you have the option to do custom widths, and they're custom widths based on mobile, tablet, desktop. And you can also set aligns for each of those as well. So if you wanted to, mobile here, we've got 100%, we've got tablet 40, desktop 40. Preview that. The search can be adjusted if we wanted desktop to be like 50. There you go.
Nice.
Right. Same with alignments. If you wanted to have, alignment on, mobile can be left or whatever, medium center, and then you could do, right if you really wanted to. So all of that is programmed into the search stack very well. Yeah, cool.
Score, dude.
Perfect. Any other questions, Joe?
No, there was a lot of people that were blown away by all your email stuff, though.
Yeah, the email stuff. I knew the email stuff would be popular,
Yeah.
and I know you brought out that update, and you didn't really tell anyone what it was.
Yep.
So it's like, it was a fantastic,
It's kind of a
fantastic
hard
update.
thing to explain without, going into an entire use case. You know what I mean? So yeah,
It really is. It's hard to go, hey, what am I gonna actually utilize this for and explain it. But it does kind of expose your CMS data location too, so I can see why it's not like the
yeah.
most thing you'd want to explain or show off. But no, it's very powerful. I enjoy feeds. I find ways to use it in almost every project that I'm currently working on.
Or
I mean, I use it every day.
all right. Any other guys? Just let me know. I'm gonna show off something really quick. I'll give you guys a sneak peek of pop-up caption a little bit since we do have about 10 minutes here. I know Josh showed you a little bit inside of his table. I figured I'd show you a little bit more. The stack, I did finish it this morning. So now it's just getting all the various other stuff to get it launched. This is a paid upgrade to the stack. It will be version 4. I released version 2 and 3 as free updates. So yeah, version 4. The only thing that's same about it is the name and the icon. I'm keeping the name and the icon. Everything else about the stack is totally new. Yeah, I didn't even try to bring in any of the same code. It is completely rewritten from scratch, completely reimagined, and really what kind of made me look at this. And I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I did that live stream on overlaying text on images. And yeah, I was like, hey, you know what? I want to and I showed off pop-up caption of just a little bit. And when I showed it off, I was like, this thing is it used to be a really cool stack. And I was like, it's not as nice as it once was. So I felt I needed to restore its former glory. And yeah, let's show it off because it's mighty beautiful. Okay. Um, this is just a test file. Okay, so we'll be playing around with this. Hopefully, I didn't break anything. Let's go ahead and preview this. Preview over here. All right. So here is pop-up caption. And oh, there. Well, as you see, it does do a nice fade in, caption. I added fade this morning. Um, it's probably the most boring effect. I felt like I needed to have just a simple fade effect though. Okay. Because the other effects are pretty amazing. I mean, watch this. So we're going to go into here and I'll show off the stack in a little bit, but I just want to show off kind of some of the cool stuff about it. So this is the default style, which is called swing. And as you see, when you have a grid of these, the animation as the things just kind of flow into each other, right? Now, I have the same caption and title on all of these. Again, this is just a demo. You can obviously have them all the same or all different, right? So really cool. But as you see, it kind of follows your mouse. So the animation follows your mouse. And the same thing on mobile. Okay. So if you're on your phone and you tap these, it knows where you last tapped, so that the animation kind of follows the direction of where you were to where you are now. It's pretty slick. So yeah, there's swing. There's also, let's see, slide. So there's slide where it kind of follows your mouse. Another thing, you can kind of make this one big link as well. You can also customize the stacks in here and add a button inside if you need to. But yeah, pretty cool. And then there is rollout. And rollout is very similar to slide. Where it differs is you can notice the content doesn't animate with the background. So the content kind of is there, and the background kind of animates over it, which is kind of cool. So slightly different than slide, but similar. And then we have rotate. As you see, rotate goes ahead and kind of rotates from the corners. Pretty slick. It's kind of like a monkey swinging from the trees or something, right? And then which one didn't we do yet? Flip. Flip is the last one. I don't think we did. All right. And flip, yeah, just kind of it flips the card. So it kind of gets rid of the overlay feature, okay? Because yeah, it flips the image in order to see the content. Now there are other modes. I won't go into every possible combination of them. But let's go to slide, and I'm going to choose a push animation, the push version of slide. And so let's refresh that. And what that does is it pushes the image in order for the caption. Instead of overlaying the caption, it pushes it. Okay. And then there also is the ability to overlay by default. So by default on before we showed the image. Now we're going to show the overlay by default. And when we hover over, you see, the difference there. Pretty cool. Now, next up is, let's go ahead and I'm just going to preview inside RapidWeaver here. So we're showing the overlay by default, but there's other things like sometimes the background images, even though we have that overlay, sometimes the background image can distract from the text, right? So I wanted the ability to help with that. And yes, we could go ahead and like adjust the opacity of that background color, but then I don't know, that's not really the same, right? So what if I wanted it to be less, less, but then what are other things we could do? So one thing we could do is we can blur, right? So we can add a blur for when and it's only blurs it when the overlay is there, right? So yeah, really cool where that adds some level of abstraction between the background. And another thing we can do is saturate, right? So we can desaturate the image as well. Here, I'm going to turn off the blurring so we can kind of see that. Okay, so now I turn off blurring and I only have desaturation turned on. So as you see, it mutes the colors. And if you go desaturate all the way down to 0, it essentially makes the images black and white, right? But only when the overlay is over them, right? So pretty cool.
Question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
We got 2 questions from the chat. We've got first, can the images also be links?
Yes. Yeah. So the entire thing, as I said earlier, you can go ahead and inside the stack, you can click add link and it'll make the entire thing one big link.
And question 2, can we, now this is my question, it's not in that chat, is can we use filters, your filters swatch on this as well?
Yes, you can. So yeah, I mean, there's classes here that you can then I mean, essentially the blur and saturation, that's the same thing from filters. I just didn't want to add in, I thought those two made the most sense for this.
Oh no,
But if you
absolutely
want
no.
more,
Yeah, you can use
if
these
you want to add
classes.
more, you can use Filters Pro and just tack on a class here. And yeah, that should work perfect.
Perfect. Awesome.
Um, okay, then we have various things like vertical alignment for if you want to vertically align the text content, blah blah blah. By default, it is just a markdown area here, but you can also just do custom content, so you can drag and drop stacks. So like here in this particular example, I was playing around with that earlier. I have some text and a link image or a link button, and if we look at that now, well, in this reverse animation doesn't make sense because it goes away. Let's turn that off. But now if we go into this one, you'll see that there's a link there that I can then click, right? So you have options. Either you can make the entire thing one big button, or you can add like a button within the layout that's then clickable. Okay, you can do either way. Let's go ahead and turn off custom content. Now you can do image, warehouse image, and actually a video file as well. Okay. So for example, here, let's just play around. I'll put a video in here for now. I think I have a video file in my. All right. There we go. We're going to put in that video file. And let's just preview. All right. So there it has a video, it auto plays. And as you see, the filters even work over the video, which is pretty cool. Okay. And obviously that video maybe interesting. Let's go ahead and I'm going to try. Let's add in some blur. We add in some blur as well. Okay. Let's preview that in the browser. Now in the video, you could also add a poster image so that, as the video's loading, the poster image would display. But yeah, there we go. Even blur works on video. And as you see, the video still plays in the background with the blur effect. Yeah, pretty cool.
That looks really cool.
Sweet. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so we did image, batch warehouse, video, alt text, links, classes. Oh, you can also let's say I wanted to make them all square. Okay, so you can even though those images weren't squares, you can go ahead and make them, force them to be an aspect ratio of 1:1. And at that point, they're all now squares. Okay, so yeah. Make that super easy. And then there's various things for the grid. So you can change your grid sizing a little bit. It is made so it's kind of intrinsic sizing, so it's based on the minimum width. So you just define the minimum and maximum width of your item within the grid, and then it will it'll just kind of auto flex all the way down. All right. Most of the time, I'm just going to say, most of the time, you're only going to set the minimum. Max, you almost always want that to be 1FR. I'm not going to try to explain that right now, but there could be edge cases where you'd want to change your max, but most of the time you're going to want that 1FR. Okay. And then the gap here is obviously the gap in between the gallery. Okay. Now you can also do a custom layout. If you choose custom layout, that doesn't use the grid from pop-up caption at all. And then you can drag in your own whatever. If you want bento or if you want whatever, you can drag that in here and then move all your pop-up items inside of that. Okay. So yeah, by default, there are two stacks that come with pop-up caption. There's pop-up caption and pop-up grid. I've been showing you grid so far. But yeah, there in the grid, you just basically keep adding new pop-up items and you can just build out your grid. Okay. And I'll show
If
you
you're
pop-up.
using pop-up item works perfectly for inside of feeds or some sort
Actually,
of.
you could use feeds in this as well. If you wanted to utilize the pop-up grid, you could chuck feeds into here as well. And then, and then feeds could generate up as many pop-up items per image or per whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Yep. Okay. And then, yeah, I mean, there's various other animation options and timings and all that jazz, but that's pretty much the gist of pop-up caption. Let me show you the pop-up solo stack. It's just the pop-up caption and pop-up grid. Okay. So again, we've been showing you pop-up grid. Pop-up caption, it behaves pretty much all the settings are identical to what I showed you. The difference with pop-up grid is all the style options are kind of centralized in the main grid stack. Whereas, and then in each item, it's just the content for that specific item, right? So just the image and the link and the text content, right? Whereas in pop-up caption, you have the content and the style settings all in one, right? So this is just kind of like a standalone pop-up caption. Um, you could build this same exact layout that I did here with the pop-up caption stack. Like, I think I deleted that demo. That was stupid of me. Like you can throw in a Foundation 6 block grid in here and then add, a pop-up caption per block grid. The annoying part of that is most of the time when you have a grid of these things, you want to make sure that the settings are the same across all of them, which is why I came up with this pop-up grid option, because a lot of these settings is going to be all the same across each one. But you could have multiples of these on the page and they'll all act independently of each other. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Yeah,
And Joe, I
sweet.
sent you in the Zoom chat a link to my pop-up caption feeds image demo.
Oh, yeah? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Let's check it out. Chat. Yeah, sweet. Yep. So this one, he has, instead of, having the entire thing a button, he had a view button in here. So when you click on that, and then takes you to the product page, right? So these are done with the solos, or is this the?
That's solo because yeah, I did
Yeah,
that solo.
sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
And so what happens if you notice here, the way the animation works is it follows your mouse. So here, let's go into the bigger example here. So as I hover from the bottom, you see that it animates up and in. And if I move my mouse out, it animates out. Okay. And if I leave from the top, guess what? It leaves from the top. And as soon as I enter this one, that one comes in from the bottom. So while most of the time people are going like this and it looks like it's a continuous motion, okay, they kind of act independently of each other. So if you move your mouse slowly enough, I can get this one to exit, but not get the other one to enter yet. Okay. So, but most of the time people are just going to kind of swipe from one to the other. And then that gives you that very smooth, pretty amazing animation. I think it's really awesome. Oh, before I forget, check out this demo. So I was playing around last night. Now I have to give props to my son for this one, and Josh, and came out with this demo. This is pretty slick. This is using the pop-up grid and two swatches. I'm using clip path with a diamond shape, and then I transform. Here, I'll turn off the transform so we can kind of see the progression of what I did. Let's just do, I don't know, let's do 2 there. And here, I'll cut that one for really quick. All right. So let's refresh this page. So this is the default grid. Okay. I have no padding or no gutter. Okay. So this is what we have. I made everything a square. Okay. So let's go ahead and turn back on the clip path. Okay. So clip path, what that does is it adds a clip path to each one of those images. Okay. So that we get this interesting layout. Now, I got this far and I was like, this is cool, but like it would be really cool if like this bottom row was shifted and up, right? So what I did there is I added a class to the bottom 3, okay, called shift left. So the bottom 3 pop-up items have a class of shift left. And so I created that swatch, a transform swatch. And what it does is it moves it 50% to the left and 45% up. Okay. And it's 50% of the size of the actual item. Okay. So I moved, I moved like this one. It takes the 50% of the width of the actual square here and it moves it over. So that perfectly centers it here. And then I moved it 45% up. And the reason I did 45 is I actually thought it would be interesting to have this little gap, right? So if I were to move it 50% up, it would actually probably be, it should be perfect. Like it should be right next to
And
it.
that is perfect. That reminds me of those tile things you can get, like those lights. I just
Yeah. See, so if I did 50-50, it's now this. I mean, there's no gap. I kind of liked it with the gap, so that I
The
only did
gap,
45.
the gap looks better.
Yeah. So there we go. Like that's very cool. Now, originally we tried this with circles, and it was it worked, but the animations were kind of odd.
Oh,
Well, let's here. I'll remove the overlap really quick. 1 second. Okay, so we have circles, right? And it works. However, what's kind of odd is that we have this straight line animating over the circle, right? And I don't know, we I thought that was kind
it's
of
not
odd.
bad.
It's
Shift
not
it now.
horrible, but
Shift shift it left, but don't bring it up. Like shift it up like 10%. So do the 50% left, and then do like 10% up.
let's try.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Here, if we add in, or we'd probably need to add some grid, add some pad, or let's add a little bit of gutter in this example, so that there's a little separation.
Yeah, no, I think that doesn't actually look ugly. That's not bad. Circles
Yeah.
actually look good too.
But anyway, clip path's pretty cool in this, right? Here,
Now, can
let's
we put that in a moving box? Just have dots going across the page.
don't like decagon. That's kind of horrible. How about hexagon? Hexagon's interesting.
Oh, that could be interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a very interesting way of doing that.
I did like the diamond though. I think diamond's cool. I like that.
Yeah. No, it definitely looks good.
So there we go. Okay. Let me see if there's anything instant buy. Davide, do you know the stack name? I remember to this stack too, but forgot the name. Oh, they were saying that I guess there was another stack on the market that did something
Something
similar to
like
what pop-up caption did. I don't know, but we'll have pop-up caption this week. So there we go.
it's a fantastic stack. It was honestly, it was so easy to start playing with and format. And I was looking to do like someone had asked me about images on my table, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that I can do custom content. I don't even know why I didn't show that. And then you're like, hey, you want to see this? And I was like, absolutely. It looks perfect inside of my table. It works great. No, that's it's pretty neat. It's a good stack. I think it's a really quality stack.
Thank you. Could you have a background behind? I'm not sure why you'd have I mean, the image kind of is the background, so not sure. Not sure.
Oh, I think
Maybe on the
hey, so,
overlay.
no,
Uh,
no, no. So do this. So put a container and put that that cool diamond design in a container, and then put a background on the container to like have a
oh,
background behind your grid.
yeah, you could do that. I mean, yeah.
I think you
All
just
right.
want to see it happen. Just it's I know it's a little easy to set up, but you could have like yeah, just a hero or whatever.
We want an image or image.
Hey, just put an image, yeah.
Uh, I don't really have any air, or we'll do. This is not going to look good. I'm not going to win any design awards on this one, but
Can you blur it?
oh wait, that's not the right one. Oops. Oh, I didn't put the class on the container. That would help.
That would help. Because like now you could put like, and then you could put shadows if you wanted on the diamonds. Like you could style this up. Like if you had like a
Yeah.
blur on that background, that would look that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Uh,
So it'd be a really nice design.
yep. Here, let's do. Um. Okay, we're just playing here then. Let's do. Oh wait, it's under components. Let's go to Filter Pro. Um.
A BG hero.
I think I'd want to do an overlay. All right, let's try. I don't think that's gonna work. Here, let's just do a blur.
The blur on that kicks in so fast. I was actually going to ask you about that. 1 pixel blur on this is insane.
Uh, That's the
It,
browser. There's nothing I can do
yeah,
about that. Yeah.
it is. It is
Yeah.
crazy how strong that blur kicks in.
Exactly.
CSS
Yeah.
is nuts. Now preview that. That's
That does
oh,
see.
it's blurring
I thought that was gonna blur everything. Let's do. I have to do an overlay.
yeah, overlay before, right?
Yep, an overlay on BG. Uh, and we could do. Let's do like white opacity 25, and then on this one, we want to do it on
Before.
before. No,
Interesting.
oh, wait here. Oh no, we don't even. We could do blend. Oh wait, no. Hold on. Let's see. This is doing. Oh, black background blend overlay. Hmm. Hmm. Why isn't that working? Where is that? Here it goes.
Any effect if you check the filter? Hmm. Interesting.
Hmm. Oh, whatever.
Eh, play with that and figure it out later.
Yeah.
But it's possible. You can
Yes.
definitely have it in front of a background. That's what someone wanted to know.
Yep. But one thing, you had an idea. Let's play around. Let's do shadow. Like if we were to do a shadow on pop-up caption, let's try that.
If you're doing a clip, do you have overlay
Yeah, I'm
uh
wondering. Yeah, I could clip the
over
shadows. Oh,
over
you might want to hear. Let's do a drop shadow instead of a box shadow. Oh, what? Oh,
interesting.
um,
Because it's
huh,
definitely being clipped by overlay.
interesting.
Because of the clipping, I think that's where you're getting in trouble.
Yeah, that would have been cool if we could put a drop shadow on the
The clip.
clipped. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Darn. I thought that was gonna work.
I had a similar issue with the that little badge thing I made the other day,
Hmm.
where I needed to add some margin because it was clipping when it was
Yeah.
the target was
Hmm.
targeting it, it was clipping it.
Overflow? No. Darn.
Because if you did overflow visible, wouldn't that mess up the clipping?
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
or
No.
fix
But
that.
yeah, that drop shadow doesn't work with clipping. Darn it. Oh well.
There's a challenge. You can figure it out. Maybe maybe we need to add an additional class on top of it and find a way to do it.
Oops. All right. Sweet. All right. I don't want to waste
Yeah.
anybody else's time. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Cool.
everybody for
Thanks for
coming.
popping in, Josh,
Hey,
and
no
sharing
problem.
your
This was fun.
wisdom, your feed's wisdom. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Sweet. Okay, let me see if there's any more other questions. I think. Okay, everyone enjoyed it. Cool. Thanks,
Perfect.
everybody. Hopefully, see you on Friday. Yeah, Friday is our hangouts as usual. Go ahead and yeah, See you on Friday. It's at basically 45 minutes from right now, but on Friday. Oh, and something I haven't actually said. I forgot to put it in my latest newsletter. The calendar, the Weaver Space calendar. If you'd subscribed to it before, it's kind of flaky. Because I was using it on Apple iCloud. I've deleted that. So if you were subscribed to it, go ahead and delete that and go ahead and subscribe again. Just Weaver Space /calendar. There's a link on our homepage. You can subscribe to that as well. And that way you won't miss any of the hangouts or live streams or stuff like that are on the calendar. So check that out. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you on Friday at the hangout. Cool. Thanks, Josh. Thanks to everybody for
Thank
joining and
you.
asking some great questions.